Most people think they're losing arguments in English because, they just don't know enough vocabulary, like they need more words. But they aren't. What they are actually losing is their entire personality.
Yeah, it's wild. Welcome back to English Unfiltered. Today we're doing a deep dive into some really fascinating linguistic research and cognitive psychology, basically to show you why your English isn't actually the problem here.
Right, because there's this weird phenomenon, like you're learning, you're practicing, but without even realizing it, you unconsciously activate this psychological safe mode, and it actually makes you look weaker in high-stakes situations.
Exactly.
But we're going to explain exactly what that is and how to turn it off in just a minute.
So it all starts with this massive false assumption. You probably believe that when you struggle to defend yourself in an argument, it's just a vocabulary gap. You think, if I just knew the right words, I'd totally win this debate.
Which makes sense, right? Like on paper. But these studies show that's an incomplete way of looking at it. Just think about your own life. I mean, you can probably explain really complex data perfectly fine in English. You present at work, you give directions, whatever.
Right. You do it every day.
But the second there's a genuine conflict, like you get into a real heated argument, you completely freeze.
Yeah, you just freeze up. And the research highlights this psychological gap between your identity and the language itself. Because when you get angry or, defensive, your brain's amygdala activates.
Oh, so it's a literal biological response.
Completely. It floods your system with stress hormones. Now, arguments require emotional precision, right? But part of your working memory is still occupied with, like, translating vocabulary and checking your grammar.
So your brain basically crashes. It's like having way too many heavy applications open on your phone while trying to run a system update.
That's a perfect way to picture it, actually. The cognitive load just becomes way too heavy. Because of that delay between having a spontaneous thought and processing the emotion, your brain adopts that safe mode we mentioned.
Right.
It self-protects. Basically, you end up hiding your real sharp personality behind this overly polite, heavily filtered, just hesitant language. And then you walk away from the conflict thinking, wow, that is absolutely not what I wanted to say.
No, hold on. So native speakers don't sound more confident because they're smarter or have better vocabularies. They just aren't constantly self-monitoring.
Yes, that's exactly it.
Okay, but I have to challenge this for a second. If my brain is filtering me, I mean, maybe it should, telling someone to turn off safe mode and just blurt out their messy emotional reactions during a heated argument with, like, their boss? That sounds like terrible advice. Wouldn't you just end up sounding completely unhinged?
Well, that's a great distinction, but I think you're confusing recklessness with authenticity here. Dropping safe mode doesn't mean screaming at your boss.
Okay, fair enough.
It just means stopping that obsessive mental translation of your emotional reactions before you speak. Because remember, fluency is not identity.
Oh, wow. I like that. Fluency is not identity.
Right. Native speakers aren't constantly self-monitoring for the perfect grammatical structure before they open their mouths.
So they aren't buffering, they just communicate the core emotion first and then, I guess, refine the argument as they go.
Yes, exactly. And a key takeaway from these communication studies is a pretty simple rule. Basically, simple language delivered confidently is almost always more persuasive than advanced language delivered hesitantly.
So confidence emerges from the willingness to speak, not the grammatical accuracy of the sentence. But wait, there's a trap here, isn't there? Because if I stop buffering and just fire off these direct, confident statements, couldn't that easily backfire depending on who I'm talking to?
Oh, absolutely. And the sociological data we reviewed points right to that friction. Disagreement styles are highly, highly cultural. In a lot of English-speaking corporate environments, things like diplomacy, indirectness, and just emotional control are heavily favored.
So if I drop my filter and use super direct language confidently, a native speaker might read that as highly aggressive, even if in my native language it's just considered, a healthy, honest debate.
Precisely. And navigating that cultural friction is the real secret here. Because what sounds strong in one culture can sound super hostile in another. But the ultimate goal of learning English isn't to perfectly mimic a native speaker's cultural mannerisms.
No, because you're not trying to become someone else. The goal is to unlock a version of yourself that can actually think, disagree, persuade, and just connect without feeling trapped between two different identities.
Exactly. Because real fluency isn't about perfectly reciting the dictionary. It's about becoming more fully yourself, just, in a different linguistic space.
Which completely changes the objective. I mean, you stop agonizing over the vocabulary and start focusing on the actual human connection. And honestly, the whole dynamic completely shifts when you look at how different cultures weaponize silence during a disagreement. But, well, that's a whole different conversation.